Hello, welcome to LPO1 Capital. My name is Terry Shreve, and I'll be your host today. This is really a short seminar intended to give you an understanding and insight of the LPO1 system. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'm going to give you a surface look to give you, again, an understanding of what this plan is all about and how it can help you. This specific presentation is going to be geared for real estate agents and brokers, and how it can help you take a potential client that has maybe a credit problem or a lending problem that can bring them into the fold and make you and all of us some money. So without that further ado, I'm going to move right on to my slide presentation, and this is again, the LPO1 capital system, and we started off with identifying the need in the marketplace. Then we're going to find a solution to fill that need, and then how a real estate person like yourself can benefit by this solution. We all kind of know where the challenge came from. I'm a real estate agent myself, and I remember going through this, as many of you I'm sure have as well, and that is the effects of what happened with the financial collapse that happened in 2008 and 2009. You know, there was millions of lost jobs and bankruptcies, et cetera, for both individuals and businesses. There was millions of home and commercial loans that fell into default. Bankruptcies, short sales, all kinds of things that fell out as a result of that. And of course, when the banking bailout came as a result, it changed the lending practices on the lending side, possibly forever. And then, of course, we have Dodd-Frank and other ramifications that have come out as a result of all that. However, and we know there's new challenges because of the subprime crash that happened, of course, that they have, as I already mentioned, have changed. Even though the rates have been relatively low in the lending side over the years since the crash, institutions have had new rules and new regulations which they have to enforce. And it's put the squeeze and really tighten the requirements on both individuals and small businesses on how they can borrow money. I think we've all had clients that have run into this kind of situation, and sometimes it's very frustrating because we know maybe they're worthy, if you will, but they just get rejected. There has been a recovery. It's been very slow and painful, but in certain areas of the country, and that's mostly who I'm directing this message to, there are certain areas that have made some pretty amazing comebacks in the last couple of years. This gives you an idea of, I'm just taking three specific areas. We have on the lower left, and I realize this might be a little hard to see, but the Phoenix market, the Las Vegas in the middle, and the Riverside, California on the right. And what we are looking at here, and these are from Zillow research, tracking the home pricing, single-family home pricing indexes, and it shows over the last 10 years. And so we can see and identify in 2006 and 2007 where the top of the bubble was hit, and then the crash of 2008 and 2009. And the unbelievable fall all the way down to the lower part, which was typically in 2010-11, where we hit the bottom. But remarkably, we've seen some certain specific areas of the country that have taken this turn back, which is, so that you can see they're all pretty much the same. Some of them started a little sooner than others, but we've seen kind of a nice recovery over the last couple years. And it's put us in a situation where people who maybe lost their homes are now looking and seeing some double-digit inflation numbers on home pricing and are going, oh my gosh, I got to get back into this market before the prices go out of sight again. And so that's part of the motivation that has given us an opportunity here to help people that are maybe in that situation. See, a lot of these people have now recovered their businesses. Maybe they've gone through some kind of hardship in the past, but they've got now their cash flow, they've got money saved, they're in a position where they want to go out and buy, and then lo and behold, they go and they work with you as a realtor and find the right house, and then they run into a brick wall when it comes to the conventional lenders. Sometimes they're very worthy of lending. They may have 700 plus credit scores even, but maybe it's something in their background that has caused, or something that's happened in the recent history that causes the lenders to reject their loan application. And then, of course, the other side of that coin is that when they see those incredible rising prices, I mean, we've seen, and California has seen, and Nevada has seen anywhere from 15 to 20 to 25, sometimes even 30% increase in a single year of single-family home prices, and that is one of the big motivational parts of this to a potential home buyer. But what has happened is, of course, as I already kind of alluded to, is the crunch that's been put on these people is that the servicers are taking this to the underwriters, which is the Fannie Mae, Freddie Macs, and the FHAs of the world, and they have these mandatory waiting periods many times. So if it was a short sale or foreclosure or bankruptcy or something like that, they put them into these 2-year, 3-year type of boxes such that they can't get a loan until they get through it, period. And so that kind of identifies what the need is, that we have deserving potential home buyers that would like to choose the home of their choice and get into it, but they cannot qualify. Some of these groups, as I kind of already alluded to, self-employed people, maybe like a realtor like ourselves, who are 1099ers, and this could be any 1099er, and that is that the underwriters are requiring that they see 2 years of steady growth before they're going to approve a loan to somebody like this. And we all know that that's a challenge. We don't think it's fair. There's no question about that, but that is the harsh reality of it. Individuals that maybe had a short sale, if you've ever had a customer or a client that said, well, we went through a short sale, we want to get back into the market, and they, of course, don't tell you that the short sale was just completed 12 months ago, and now they've got a 2-year wait, et cetera, before they can get another loan. Or a foreclosure or a bankruptcy in their recent history. Sometimes it's just they got behind, whether it be student loans or got behind just on their credit card, so they've got some knocks on their credit score and they can't even get to a 620 to get an FHA loan. So those are other good candidates. Maybe it's just a matter of time to get those things repaired, but they want to get, again, moving now while the prices are still reasonable. Maybe it's another oddity like a divorce situation or a tax lien. I'm going to show you a couple examples of those kind of things. There's all kinds of different reasons why people may be interested and willing to look at this option as opposed to having just to continue to rent. This gives you an idea of just the general Phoenix area of the magnitude of number of people that are falling into this kind of category. This is Maricopa County basically, and just shows you 2010, 11, and 12 of the sheer numbers of short sales, foreclosures, bankruptcies, etc. Now the number is obviously going down and has improved again in 13. I don't have all those final numbers, but the reality is that there's a lot of them out there. A lot of people that are looking or maybe having difficulty trying to get requalified again. So that was the need. Our potential solution is LPO1 Capital. We feel that we give an alternative. We give you another arrow to put in your quiver. It's not going to work for everybody. We recognize that right up front. We will tell you that right up front. But there's going to be situations where it will work, and we've done a ton of these here in the last year, and we know it works, and we call it the bridge back to home ownership for people who want to get back in, but maybe because of some of these problems have had a difficult time getting to where they want to be. So let's just go very briefly, and I'm just going to hit the highlights of these areas. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I think in the next 10 minutes I can go through these and then give you a great understanding of how the system works. You may have a lot of questions, which I'm going to give you my email and my information or telephone, and you can either text or call me or email me, and I'll certainly be willing to answer any questions you might have in more detail. But these are the 8 steps or stages, if you will, we go through in a process. It doesn't happen quickly. It takes usually a couple weeks. Usually, quite often, it's 4 to 6 weeks before we can get through a client to get him into the house he wants. Okay, so stage 1 is the application. Keeping in mind, again, this is for deserving home buyers who cannot qualify for a conventional FHA, VA, or USDA loan because of the underwriter's restrictions that we already talked about. The application, they must file, we have an application which we can get to you as the agent to have them fill out, and then a disclosure that we will not disclose any confidential information, of course, and then also we want them to be able to allow us to share this information with a credit repair company, which may be the one that's we're going to have them plug into, because we do require that if it is a credit issue, that they get involved with a credit repair company. We have a very, very good one right here in the Phoenix area, which does nationwide on it, and they're very good at what they do. So we will review the credit application with them, or the application with them, to determine the suitability of our system to what they're trying to do. We will also identify a range of affordability. In other words, we don't want to get them into a situation where they're going to get in trouble again. We want to make sure it's within their budgetary limits to whatever that particular entity that they're going to find is and define. So then stage 2 is the approval and search process, and that is that once we approve them for the program, they're going to start working with you. If you're the agent that brought them to us, of course, you will be their agent. In other situations, if they come to us, we can assign an agent to them. And then your job is going to be locating that ideal home within the affordability parameters that we talked about that they're looking for. And hopefully, after a little while, you can find and identify that particular property, and that will be hopefully their future home and the one that they really want. Stage 3, the plan. And then once we've identified the home and the property itself, we kind of know what the numbers are. We will work with you. That is, myself would work directly with you to work out a purchasing strategy for that home and for acquiring that home. We will look at comps. We will look at other information that of the neighborhood, et cetera, to determine and maybe how long it was been on the market. I mean, there's just like any realtor, we're going to look at the parameters that they're going to dictate and determine what a reasonable price would be. We want to obviously look at comps for the appraisal. We're always going to work off of an appraisal. It'll be contingent upon an appraisal. So that would be the first step. The next step is based on that information that we have, we then, I would be putting together a purchase option contract and a lease contract. These are 2 separate agreements that are going to be set up, and we will submit these at that point to the client so he understands exactly. We're just basically disclosing where we're going on this, so he can start to review this and make sure it's feasible for him and that he feels comfortable with that. We're going to go in more detail that here in just a minute. At this point, we also like to bring in a mortgage broker. If he doesn't have one in the area, maybe you can recommend one, or in the areas that we've worked in Denver and the Phoenix area, we have a lot of them we've worked with already that know our system very well, and we can plug them into that. But if it's a specific new area that we're breaking into, you want to get somebody local that knows the market there, and we can teach them on what we're looking for. Very important to bring that mortgage broker in, because we want them to approve this plan that we've laid out, and they need to help us and verify that we can get this client, if you will, qualified in the term of the lease. In other words, by the end of the lease, we want them to be able to pull the trigger on that lease option, on the purchase option, in order to purchase that house from us. So critically important to bring that mortgage broker in right up front. And he's, of course, going to get his reward at the end of the process, but we need his input from the very beginning. Again, if we don't have a broker there, we can find one and teach them how, teach them about our system. Stage 4, then, the agreements. those agreements, we basically set it up that there's going to be a non-refundable purchase option. That is the crux of our system, and that is that they're going to pay us for a legal contract that will solidify, if you will, or guarantee a price in the future. That's what the word option means. It's the same as they use in the corporate world in terms of stock options for managers, et cetera. And that is, you pay a little bit of money up front to set a price in the future, and then if you exercise that option, then you can make a lot of money if that stock's going up. It's the same thing here, where the price of those homes are going up, and you're setting the price in the future. The 6% is our standard, 6% of the acquisition price is our standard option. And if you're like I was, your jaw just dropped and go, 6%, my gosh, that's a lot of money. For a $250,000 house, that's $15,000. Well, before you get all hot and bothered about that, let me walk you through, and I'll show you here graphically here in a minute, how that really can be absorbed by that inflationary prices that are rising in the area, and it really won't cost them in the long run. So don't get too excited about it. Let me walk you through this whole thing. We also are somewhat flexible about that purchase option, and that is we can be less than 6%, but understand but we would never do it less than 3%, but understand that there's a compensating increase that's going to happen on the backside. We always have a little, what I call the soft bump on the backside, meaning the purchase price is not going to be exactly what we pay. It'll be a little bit more. Typically, it's going to be about 5%. We actually do it on a monthly basis, and that's the way the contract will read. But if they go less than 6% up front, then there's going to definitely be more, a higher price to be paid on the backside. So we're just going to simply take it and move it to the backside. And so hopefully that gives you an understanding. And I'll show you a little bit more about that here in just a second. We also will provide you with a realtor calculator, which will be able to graph this for you and give you a tool which you can work with a specific set of situation with your client and a particular asset, and be able to plug all this information in to discuss it with them. And I'll teach you how to do that. Stage 5, the terms. So now we have the homeowner has his lease agreement and his purchase option, and we want to make sure he understands everything that's in there, and then we're getting closer and closer to making an offer on such a house. And then also to understand that the terms of the lease agreement, which in this case, let's just talk, is 24 months, that if he somewhere in the process from day one, actually we usually say it's going to be probably no less than 6 months into it. Yeah, but it's possible after 6 months or 8 months or 12 months or 24 months that he gets to a position where he can purchase it. He can purchase it at that point, and he doesn't have to wait. In other words, there's nothing magical about the 24 months. We're just saying we're giving him that much room to get in a position where he can purchase. And the sooner he purchases, by the way, the lower his price will be. That's where on point number 2 here. That the earlier he takes his option, the lower his ultimate price is going to be on the thing. The lease contract's monthly payment is determined by a couple different factors. We don't have full pockets and be able to buy these homes all on our own. What we do is we have investors money, and we have a cost of funds, and that becomes the basis of that lease price. So the cost of funds is the basis, and then we have to add on a monthly basis the taxes, insurance, home warranties, et cetera. Is pretty conventional as a lease type property, which will all be paid by the client on his monthly payment. So we don't make, that means LPO1 doesn't make money on the lease payments. It's strictly a straight pass-through of those out-of-pocket expenses that are going to occur. So stage 6 becomes the purchase, and that is that once we approve the property, and that's another step in this, and that is LPO1 has to assess and look at the property that's been chosen, make sure that it's not out in the sticks, it's not a situation that we can't turn this property if we ever got it back, and so that's another part of our criteria. And then once we do that, and the client signs his, remember we gave in the purchase option contract and the lease agreement before, he signs those agreements, okay, then we're in position to go ahead and put an offer in. So I will work with you as the realtor, if you're the realtor in this case, and we'll negotiate just as a standard. I'm your buyer, and you're my buyer's agent, and we will negotiate and get a contract written. Once we get the agreement is reached and we sign the contract, we then are going to set up in that contract an inspection period. And usually it's going to be a little longer than normal, typically about 15 plus days. And the reason is we are going to get not only a home inspection, but we're going to get the appraiser done in this inspection period. We want this done before this thing goes hard on us. So we can go ahead and we'll put our earnest money down, but we definitely want to get the home inspection and the appraisal done. And so that's the next step, and then both of these two, the appraiser and the appraisal and the inspection, are paid by the client. The reason we have the client pay for them is we don't want them backing out with no skin in the game at this point and saying, well, you know, we changed our mind, we want to go, now we want to look at this house over here. Well, no, we want to get them committed to that's the house they want. This will obviously all be written off on their taxes anyway. So anyway, they have to commit to that and get that paid for when it's done. Stage 7 is the closing. Before we can close, or right before, a couple days before we close, we're going to get the contract agreement or the purchase option agreement and the lease agreement, and there may be small adjustments that are made in that process. Maybe in the home inspection there was certain changes being made, or maybe the price was actually changed as a result of the appraisal. So we got to make those adjustments, and it'd probably be an addendum, and we will set that up. Then they need to pay us the purchase option fee right up front at that point in time. Now this is right before the closing, and it has to either be a cashier's check, or if they want to give us a check a couple days ahead and then get it cleared, then that's fine. We will do that as well. They also need to then put forth the first month rent and sort of kind of a last month rent or another second month rent, which will be a refundable security deposit. This is in case they would bolt or whatever. Refundable means we're going to credit this back to them at the back end. Okay? At that point in time, we got that all set. We go to the closing, we sign, we purchase the home, and we turn the keys over to the client, and he and his family can move in. So we're off to the races. The last point, which is stage 8, is the conversion, and that is at some point during the process of this, a year or 2 years or whatever it might be, if the mortgage broker they're working with, and of course they're going to be working with the credit repair people and the mortgage broker to get him qualified, at some point, as I already alluded to, then if the mortgage broker says, okay, we're good, we're green, let's move ahead, he can exercise his option purchase, whether it be a month from them or whatever, set it up, and maybe it's going to be the end of a month, or however they want to set it up. He can exercise that contract, and it will then at that month in time there'll be a predetermined price for that house for the conversion that's already set in the purchase option the purchase contract, or the option contract. I'm sorry. As I said, the lease contract will be terminated at that closing, and there will be no additional charges or anything charged, and then the security deposit, as I alluded to, will be credited back to the client at the closing. The conversion closing costs do not include any additional real estate fees. In other words, as a realtor, you're not going to get paid twice on this deal. You're going to get paid up front on the first acquisition. We also use open title policies such that security title here in Arizona, they have a 2-year program where we can leave it open for 2 years, and then you don't have to pay for a whole other title policy. What you can do is they leave it open, and then we just do an update, and that's only a few $100, so it's a lot less expensive to do it that way. Obviously, there will be charges that the lender will charge the client on his side. But that's all he'll have to deal with. There will be very few charges on the other side here. So that, in a nutshell, is the program, and we've already run, like I already alluded to, I believe we have about, I don't know, a dozen or so of these things going, and so it's not blue sky. It works very well. I'm going to give you, in a minute here, I'm going to give you a couple examples of a few that are going on right now. So where are our targets? Why are we talking with you specifically? Probably because I maybe have talked with you or one of your brokers or whatever, and that is, we started, as you see these green dots here, in Phoenix, or up in Denver, started there and then came down to Phoenix, and we started working into Las Vegas, and we've been very successful this last year because those markets were in double-digit single-family home price increasing areas. Now, what has happened is I've made them kind of that yellow-green now because they've softened. And these are projections. Now, I realize this is only somebody's opinion, but Zillow Research does a lot of work, and they're very good at what they do. And they are projecting for 2014 a softening in both the Denver, Las Vegas, and Phoenix markets, down to single-digit growth, primarily in the 6 to 8% range. Now, it doesn't mean we can't sell in these areas because we already have. But the reality is that it's not going to be as aggressive, and it's going to be a little more difficult to justify somebody paying that fee if the inflationary factor is not involved in there. However, I want you to look at the two other areas that we've projected, because these are the target areas we've got. The California area is without a question the best in the country, and that is all the way from northern San Diego County all the way through the central part, particularly into the Riverside, and then up into Bakersfield, Modesto, Fresno, right into Stockton and the East Bay area, Vallejo, etc. Excellent opportunity. Those are all still projected. They were in the 20 to 30% growth last year. They have slipped down. They're projecting only in the 12 to 18, but 12 to 18, you can sell this program all day long. It's a very, very exciting opportunity for those in those areas to use this mechanism to get people into their homes. Similar out in Florida, in both Central and South Florida. They're not quite as aggressive as would be the Central California area, but it's still pushing the 10% growth range in terms of pricing. And so we have a concerted effort that's going to take place down there as well. Again, these are somebody's opinion. I do want to show you one of their charts, which this is where this information is coming from. You probably can't read on the slide, but down there, Zillow.com/research, you can get this information for this specific area you might be in. I want to explain that there's the way you read these. On the top left, they have the national average home value average. There's single-family home, by the way. National average is up there. Then they have the specific town. Now, the annual average that they're talking about there, the annual change, it says 30% for Vallejo. Now, that is from February 2013 to February 2014, so it's a running total. And so that's why it's as high as it is. They are not projecting 2014 to be that high. In fact, that's what the next one says. The home values forecast is for the next 12 months, and it's showing 16.7. So you see it's softened as well, but still 16.7 is an incredibly good market for what we're doing. It also gives you some the surrounding cities and what they are individually. This gives you a graphic look at what that is all about, and anytime you get to where it is currently, and that line is still going up at the kind of rate that it shows on this one in Vallejo, is a very, very positive situation. Now, this graph, which I know may be a little bit difficult to see, is what really tells the story. This is how I sell this to a client. I'm just going to walk you through this, and again, I can get this information and put it in your hands, and then you can play with it all you want, but it really illustrates how this thing works. Starting on the top left on that yellow, the $250,000, this is a $250,000 model using a 6% option fee on a 24-month lease. And I'm going to put a 12% annual growth rate in there. We have this program set up on our website also for the client. we also have one for you that you can put more variables in to see how this thing changes. So you start on the top left, you have $250,000 acquisition, that including closing costs. The 6% option, the purchase option translates to $15,000. And again, you go, whoa, that's an awful lot of money. Below there, it's the market trend number is the 12% that I'm inputting in there. And that's again conservative for the California area for sure. It may be relevant in terms of what's happening here in Phoenix still. We're still in about that area now. And certainly out in Central and South Florida would be relevant. So we have then the basis. So the basis in this case, we're using the 10% of the cost of our funds from our investors. That determines the basis of the lease price. So you can see that's a little over $2,000. The taxes, you input these yourself. The taxes, the insurance, the home warranty, the HOA. We have a third-party servicing company that does that, so that's the $25. So you monthly put that in monthly terms, all those numbers, and so you can see in this case it's a little over $2,400 a month. And you say, well, that's a little high for a $250,000 house. Well, it may be, but at the same time, understand that the clients in the house they want to be in, they're going to start making the changes and making the plans on modifying or customizing the house to themselves. They wouldn't do that in a rental. So there's an advantage to that. So then the next one, 24 months. Now let's go over to the graph itself. This is critically important on what's happening here. The green line at the bottom is the acquisition price, the $250,000. And then you notice that the blue dots represent, and they're shown at every 6 months here, of what that 12% would represent in terms of the inflation on the cost, meaning the market of that area, of that house, that same house. So after a year, as you can see, it goes up to about $280,000, and then after 2 years, it's going to be up, let's see, that number is $310,000. So we're buying it at $250,000 now. Now you see where the yellow little blobs are, starting at 6 months, going up to 24 months. Those are the set prices that the client is going to pay in his purchase option contract. In other words, it's a set number. It's already there. So in the case of the 24 months, let's say it takes him 24 months to get to where he can qualify, then what has happened is he's paying $279,000 for that house that now is worth $310,000. Critical, important figure right there. Because what has he done? That's where I've got that arrow that comes down. He's captured $30,000 plus in the equity of that house. In other words, he doesn't own it yet, but under the contract that he's purchased, he literally does have control over that. If he exercises the contract, he does capture that equity. And so that's what the $30,000 there on the line, it says client's gross equity gain. Now if you take that $15,000 that he put up front and subtract that off, look what happens. Not only did it pay for itself and the equity he's gained, but you came up with an extra $15,000 into the green and into the black. In other words, he's that much farther ahead. He has equity going into this purchase of that house. That puts you in a very, very favorable position. And of course, that's why in the double-digit inflation areas this works so well, because literally the program pays for itself in this case. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of, but as long as that bottom line number there, that net equity gain is in a positive, let me tell you, you're in great shape. Even if it's a negative or a small negative, it may still, that doesn't mean you won't be able to sell it. It might be a little harder sell. That's what I'm saying. In a lower single-digit inflation area, you might not be able to create that positive down there, positive number, but that doesn't mean that if somebody really wants the house, they wouldn't pay it anyway. So let me just give you a couple brief examples. Here's one that was just closed about less than 2 months ago. It's a horse property here in the Phoenix area, 1¼ acres. She had horses. She wanted to stable, etc. This property had stables on the property. And as you can see, the acquisition price was $262. By the way, that list price was $362. The list price was $395, but because of the appraisal, because of the turn down recently here, we ended up with a negotiated price at $362,000, which the client is going to take advantage of that. The purchase option fee was $21,000, which is a full 6% of that. And again, I'm going to show you where this is going to pay off, because what happens is on the back end of this, she's going to pay then $292 after 24 months, or if it goes to 36 months, it might be $408. But if you put a 12% on that, you're going to find out she's still making money, even though she's putting 21 grand out. The monthly lease on this thing turned out to be $34.84 per month. And her situation was very unique. She had a very, very good credit score in the high 700s. The problem was she had had a previous tax problem, where the IRS, she had worked out an agreement with them, but that agreement was going to take her something in excess of 2 years to get through. And when she went to the underwriters, in terms of conventional lenders, they would not approve her until that tax problem is erased. So she was in limbo. She could not do it without what we've offered, and that's exactly what she did. Here's another one, maybe a little more normal, which is a place up in, last summer we did this up in Colorado, a suburb of the Denver area. And here we have a $232,000 house. That was a $15,000 option fee paid. At the back end, they're going to pay after 12 months. This is a shorter term one. They had a credit situation. Well, it really wasn't a credit situation as much as it was she was in a divorce. She was in a situation where she had 4 kids, 4 young kids. She had a good job. She was making money. She had some medical bills, etc., but the underwriters turned her down. There's no way they're going to give her a loan. We stepped in. We were able to put her in the house, which what she wanted, what she desired for her kids, etc. She could more than afford the $1,933 per month, and it all worked out for all parties. So that's really what our endpoint is. Our destination is that we've identified that need, that we can act as a option, if you will, for your customer, your client, to get them into that situation through our solution, and make it a win-win-win, a win for the customer, the client, a win for you as the agent, and a win for us as helping somebody get into the house they want to be in. So just a little side note here, as a real estate agent or broker, what are the direct benefits of our system? Well, purchasing a home for a client who cannot qualify under the conventional means, where otherwise you have to walk away. There's nothing else you could do. We actually give you that option to be able to say to that client, hey, maybe we ought to consider a lease purchase type of thing, and they'll probably ask for more information. Okay? We then become your pre-qualified buyer of that house. Very important. The other critical important for you as a realtor, and that is you're going to get paid right up front. When the closing is made, you get paid right there. And lastly, it gives you a unique tool to your competition in the area that maybe none of them have. And as a result, because we're kind of exclusive in areas. Once we get an agent in that area, we're going to allow them to run with it. And I'm not saying we're going to grant exclusivity rights to specific areas, but this is a very nice tool that you can have to increase your sales without question. Here is my contact information. Again, my name is Terry Shreve. This is the number that rings into my cell phone, and I can get right back to you. In fact, I'm one of those old school guys that actually answers their phone. Again, my tshreve@LPO1capital.com. Feel free to please send me questions. Say if you want to set up a time with you and your broker, whatever, to go through this in more detail. I have an any meeting account which I can set up a 3-way or 5-way or 10-way or whatever. We can do all kinds of things that way with your broker, or we can also do it with client. We can set a client up so we can all be in different locations and all do screen shares and walk through this with them. And particularly when we get down to a specific asset or property, and we can walk through the pros and cons, and then a contract as well. So thank you for your interest and your attention. I appreciate the time, and let us know how we can be of service. So thanks Thanks again, and have a great day.